Good Yantif, everyone. Chag Sameach. Welcome to Kol Nidre. Welcome to everyone that is here in our sanctuary. Welcome to everyone that is live streaming, and we're feeling your love and support. And welcome to all the neshamot, all the souls of our congregation from years past, represented by the beautiful Yisker lights in the back of our sanctuary. All those souls too, all throughout the world, all throughout the Jewish world, all of us, wherever our journey has taken us this past year, whatever our steps have been, whatever challenges we have faced, and we've all faced them, some of them as together we faced them. We come here this Kol Nidre once again to do what the tradition demands, which is to inscribe ourselves in the book of life by doing that work over the next 25 hours, shutting off all the technology that's outside, but also shutting off some of the voices inside that are stopping us from doing that work of inscribing and living and returning. So in this night, we begin with the most holiest prayers our tradition has to offer, which is Kol Nidre. And you can open your Siddurim as we prepare for Kol Nidre on page 204. This time we call forward our president, Kisatiski, who will invite members of our congregation who are honored with special honors on behalf of the president for their service.
Good evening, Rabbi.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, congregation. Good to see everybody again. Yes, it is my honor to call up 4 honorees to hold and or stand by one of the Torah scrolls for our Beit Din, our Jewish court of law. And the 4 honorees are Ellen Edelman, Sherry Shapiro, Phil Weinstein, and Steve Hamill. These individuals all share some very important traits. One, they all care deeply about our synagogue. Second, and even more importantly, they have turned their care into action by giving generously of their time and talents for the betterment of our synagogue. And third, although they are being recognized tonight for their volunteerism, none of these people seek recognition for their volunteerism. Ellen Edelman, who's best known by everybody for arranging the ushers and greeters at our services, which is no easy feat, believe me. But she's also been involved with adult education and with helping with people who are interested in Beth Meyer in general. And she also had the distinction of being the sole member of our election committee for the last board election. And she counted the votes correctly, I think. Basically, whenever we need her, whatever we need her for, she always finds a way to be there for us, and we appreciate it.
Amen.
Sherry Shapiro. She has served as the Ritual Committee Chair and currently is serving as Vice President of Jewish Living and Learning, where she oversees our Ritual Committee, our Lifelong Learning Committee, and our Membership Committee. The combination of Sherry's extensive and impressive academic background and training, combined with her natural gift of common sense, good humor, and a deft touch, makes her a potent force for positivity for our shul. Phil Weinstein. He's currently primarily dedicating himself to the security of our synagogue. He's constantly helping to patrol our campus to help keep us safe and to make this a safe experience for all of us. He's also what they call a glue guy, in that he pitches in and he volunteers whenever he's needed. And I got to shout out to his wife, Heather, as well, for all that she does for the synagogue and for that beautiful Haftorah rendition she did on day 2 of Rosh Hashanah. Some of you, well, most of you may not know that Phil is my second cousin. His grandfather, Bob Rothstein, was a longtime member, past president, and all-around fixture at Beth Meyer until his death in 2015 at the age of 101. Last but not least, Steve Hamill. Steve currently serves as our Vice President of Organizational Health, which means that he oversees a number of our committees, including personnel, finance, communications, security, on and on. As some of you know, Steve retired recently as Vice President and General Manager of WRAL-TV after a very long and distinguished career. And fortunately for us, Steve decided to use his considerable managerial and organizational skills to benefit the synagogue, and I can assure you he's doing a fantastic job, and we're very fortunate for his service. He's been a valuable partner to me, a good friend, and a fairly decent tennis player as well.
So with that, we're going to invite our special honoree for the Fanny Heilig Sisterhood honoree, which is Suzanne Zorn, for her years of service to our congregation in numerous ways, who is honored by the sisterhood specifically to come open the ark. And as she does so, we invite all to please rise. As the Sifrei Torah are taken out, and we assemble the Beit Din, as Keith noted, of Sifrei Torah.
Yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai
Suzanne is our honoree. So I'm saying you can come this way if you'd like to let Suzanne come through. Page 204 in the middle, or Zarua.
Or Zarua,
la tzadik, u'yishrei lev, simcha. Or Zarua, la tzadik, u'yishrei lev, simcha. בישיבה של מעלה ובישיבה של מטה, על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל, אנו מתירים להתפלל עם העבריינים, by the authority of the court on high and by the authority of this court below, with divine consent and with the consent of this congregation, we grant permission to pray with those who have transgressed. Kol Nidre, page 205.
So we stand here and prepare to chant this Kol Nidre 3 times. We begin softly and then we build. I don't believe that this is a prayer that is for us alone, it's for all of us. So I hope that you will sing, you will hum, you will go inside. We stand here tonight as a community, but also each one of us as an individual, reminded that the only person we can change is ourselves. And so as we prepare for this first rendition of Kol Nidre, I invite us to consider something that we feel ready to release. Some part of ourself, some version of ourself, some experience from this past year, some way we've fallen short, something that you feel ready to release. Kol Nidre, besarei, vecharamei, vekonamei, vechinuyei, vekinusei, ushavut, tidarna, ureishtabana, ureyacharimna, vidyasarna, anafshatana, miyom kippurim zeh, ad yom kippurim haba aleinu letovah, kulhon yicharadna vehon, kulhon yehon sharan, shevikin shevitin, betelin umevudalin, lasharirin, velakayamin, nidrana la nidre, vesarana la esare, ushevuatana la shevuot. And as we prepare to chant again, I invite us to consider giving ourselves true and full permission to start again. It's really easy, as Rabbi Eric said, to allow the inner chatter to kind of hold us back, to be the person that we thought we were supposed to be, instead of allowing ourselves to truly become who we are meant to be. And so this repetition of Kol Nidre is dedicated to us giving ourselves permission to start over. Kol Nidre, vesarei, vecharamei, ודיסרנה על נפשתנה מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו לטובה כול הון יחרנה והון כול הון יהון שרן שביעין שביעיתין בטנין ומבוטלין לשרים ולקיימים נדרנה נדרה ושרנה להסרה ושבועתנה לשבועות. And finally, as we chant Kol Nidre one last time, it's an invitation to come home. The work of tshuva, we usually think about it as having to change in all of these hard ways. But it is equally just a return, an easy return to come home to who we really are. So may each one of us, and may we as a community, come home. Kol Nidre v'sareh v'charameh v'korameh v'chinuyeh v'kinusei u'shavuot din darna udeish tabana udeacharimna v'diasarna הנפשתנה מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו לטובה כול הון יחרנה והון כול הון יהון שרן שביעין שביעיתין מטענין ומבוטלין לשרירין ולקיימים נדרנה נדרה ושרנה להסרה ושבועתנה לשבועות.
The entire congregation of the people of Israel should be forgiven, as well as the stranger who dwells among them, for all have erred. Middle of page 205, v'nislach.
ונסלח לכל עדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה סלח נא לעוון העם הזה כגודל חסדך, וכאשר נסעת לעם הזה ממצרים ועד הנה, ושם נאמר.
Adonai replied, I have forgiven as you have asked.
ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Standing now as a Sefer Torah, and now return back into the Aron Kodesh. So this job never gets old. I've been a rabbi for almost 20 years now, more than 18 years in this community. And I stand here before you with less nerves than I had as a brand new rabbi, but no less awe, no less yirah. It is truly, truly a privilege, a zechut, to be your rabbi, to be one of your rabbis. And I don't take that for granted. I'm so grateful for you trusting me once again to be one of your guides as we move through not only this beautiful sacred day, but in the days ahead. And for those of you joining us on live stream, I feel you with us as well. If Judaism teaches us nothing else, it's that there is a oneness beyond space and time. And that oneness, especially on Yom Kippur, is felt beyond our differences, beyond our separation. As Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi, may he rest in peace, would say, it is a day of atonement. It's also a day of at-one-ment. So wherever you are joining us from, we are one. So as a prayer leader rabbi, I have many lofty goals. I aim to create a space where we feel safe enough to look inside and do the work of tshuva. I aim to create a space where we can utter the prayers and the ancient prayers, but also to allow our hearts to find their own deepest expression. I try to sing in such a way that we can feel joy and strength and togetherness. And I try to create enough space for silence so that we can, each one of us, hear that still small voice and sense the divine presence among us. But as the speaking rabbi, I have one goal tonight, and that is to keep you awake. This summer, we buried my first cousin, Andrea. Andrea was 2 years older than me. She has 3 kids, all close in age to my own, and a beloved husband. I officiated at their wedding over 20 years ago, one of my first weddings as a rabbinical student. Eric was actually the one to sign on the ketubah. Andrea was a professional photographer in New York City, a devoted wife, an awesome mom, an amazing friend, a supportive cousin, and a lover of all things that I did that were Jewish, pop culture, and her home, New York City. And thankfully, she visited us at Beth Meyer every time we had a simcha. 4 years after her diagnosis of glioblastoma, which is an incurable form of brain cancer, she transitioned from this world to whatever is next on July 13th. And I loved Andrea, and I still do. Before we laid her to rest, I guided her immediate family in the ritual of Kriya, tearing a black ribbon and placing it over our hearts. As many of you know, we tear this ribbon on the outside as a symbol of the tear that we feel on the inside. And those of you who have performed this ritual might remember that as we tear the ribbon, we also say a blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, dayan ha'emet. Blessed are you, the true judge. But what do these words even mean? Here's what they meant for me. I wish I wasn't doing this. I'm heartbroken by this. I don't understand how this is happening. And yet, I have no choice but to accept this, to feel this, to know this, to remain awake through this. I'm sure many of us have had Baruch Dayan Ha'emet moments this past year. Maybe you have laid a loved one to rest. But as Jews, we don't only say this blessing before burying a loved one. This is a blessing we actually recite whenever we receive difficult news or acknowledge something tragic or painful. I've said this blessing more than a handful of times this past year as an American, when I learned that 1 million people had died from COVID. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. When I heard that 19 elementary children, school children, and 2 teachers were slaughtered in a school in Texas. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. When I learned that a gunman steeped in white supremacist ideology killed 10 innocent people in a Buffalo supermarket. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. Facing these sorts of losses, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by our grief, to become cynical, to want to numb out, to reach for escapes. Our phones, the refrigerator, online shopping, too many glasses of wine, you fill in the blank. All in an effort to spiritually fall asleep. But Maimonides, the great medieval rabbi, reminds us of our mandate at this time of year. Uru yeshenim mishnatchem. Arise from your slumber, you who are asleep. Jewish wisdom is very clear about how we proceed in a world filled with tragedies we cannot understand nor fully prevent. We remain awake. I like to think about it as the original form of being woke. At every moment when we feel the sting of loss or tragedy, we say a blessing, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. And in doing so, we recommit to remaining awake, to feeling the fullness of our sorrow and disbelief, to staying connected to the truth of our experience. Tomorrow afternoon, we will be reminded of this mandate when we read from the book of Jonah. The book of Jonah opens like other prophetic books of the Bible, but unlike most of the other prophetic books, what follows is not an account of the divine words that Jonah received, but instead a story about Jonah, who is very reluctant, even recalcitrant. At the opening of this story, God calls to Jonah to go to Nineveh, one of the biggest cities in the ancient Near East. It's a city rife with wickedness. Jonah is to warn the Ninevites that because of their sinfulness, they now face divine destruction. But rather than heed this call, Jonah flees in the opposite direction on a ship to Tarshish across the Mediterranean Sea. Not one to let a prophet pull a disappearing act, God sends a hurricane, Ian-sized hurricane storm, to threaten Jonah's ship. And it is a doozy. The crew, terrified out of their minds, start throwing all the cargo overboard. And each person on the ship is praying to their own God to no avail. Meanwhile, Jonah falls asleep in the ship's hold, oblivious to the clamor and uproar. It must have been a kind of willful obliviousness, for who could fall asleep through the tumult of a storm threatening to overturn a ship and a crew of sailors crying for their lives? Here's Jonah, the prophet of God, who instead of responding to the challenges he faces, runs from them and falls asleep. It's as if God is warning us through Jonah's experience. It is tempting to retreat to the lower deck of our lives and fall asleep when life gets painful, or we sense that there's something wrong, but we must resist and remain awake. But how? How do we keep our hearts open and alert when we're prone to being troubled and overwhelmed on the one hand, or numb on the other? The Jewish answer, in my opinion, is that we create time and space to feel, to be with the fullness of this human experience. And I couldn't possibly know what that ought to look like in your life, but I know what it looks like in mine. Lighting Shabbat candles every week, I take a couple of moments to feel the full impact of the week. In prayer, allowing my gratitude, hopes, and fears to ride on the melodies and ancient words of my people. Mikvah, immersing each month to reflect on myself, on my relationships, on my work, on my hopes for the month ahead. Psychotherapy, enough said. Running outdoors, feeling my feelings in motion, allowing my feet to rhythmically touch the earth and sweating out toxins. Yoga and gentle stretching, feeling my body move slowly through space, noticing the feelings that get stuck in my bones, in my tissues, in my heart. Meditation, allowing myself to simply sit in silence, to breathe with awareness, and to bear compassionate witness to the stirrings of my mind. And friends, making time to talk with and listen to dear ones who don't just want to catch up on superficialities, but instead help me see and feel what is difficult to hold. These are some of the ways I stay awake. Maybe you share some of these practices. Maybe you have others. Maybe this is the year you try to put more of these practices in place for yourself. But even if you're fairly certain you don't have any practices, you are here now. And being in shul together on Kol Nidre is above all a practice in staying awake. At least I hope it is. And there are more opportunities coming tomorrow. Choosing to stay in the room for Yisker and for our Shoah speaker is courageous. These are all sacred practices in staying awake. We cannot repair what we cannot see, and we can't heal what we can't feel. Tomorrow night, when Yom Kippur draws to a close, there will be one final tikiyah gdola, one final piercing blast of the shofar. And the sound of the shofar is many things, but among them, it's a spiritual alarm clock. It's that sound that pleads with us, wake up. Don't fall asleep at the wheel of your life. Don't be afraid to feel your feelings, all of them. Don't harden your heart to the cries of the world, the cries of the planet, the cries of the most vulnerable among us. Awaken to what needs to change in your life, and awaken even and especially to the Baruch Dayan Ha'emet moments that life delivers to all of us, those painful but unavoidable moments of truth. When we took turns shoveling dirt over Andrea's grave on that incredibly hot New Jersey afternoon this summer, and I watched her youngest son, only 8 years old, pick up the shovel, I wanted to close my eyes and fall asleep. I wanted to be anywhere else but there. But when I led the family in saying Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, that blessing was for me too. It was a reminder that my job is to be awake and fully present in my life. Yom Kippur is our yearly reminder that our time on this earth is limited. As my wise and beloved yoga teacher Jill Sockman often says, why are we here? To wake up. How long do we have? Not long. Yom Kippur invites us into myriad rituals intended to wake us up to the fact that none of us, not a single one of us, will make it out alive. As we chant in Hallel from Psalms, Lo hametim yahallelujah, the dead cannot praise God, but we can. So the psalm continues, don't wait. Don't fall asleep now while you're still alive. May God give us all strength in the day ahead and the year ahead as we persevere in staying on the main deck of our lives, remaining awake to all that is here for us to learn and to know, to feel, to explore. May the sound of the shofar reverberate inside of each one of us, urging us to keep our eyes open and our hearts awake. Gemar chatimah tovah.
Amen. Amen. Gemar chatimah tovah.
We continue now with Baruch Hu, with a prayer of gratitude and community on page 207.
We rise together.
Baruch
You may be seated, everyone. Continue now on page 207, the first blessing before Shema Yisrael, focusing on the gift of creation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher na'im Eloheinu chashach v'ashach
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו Page 208 at the top, we continue with prayer and gratitude for God's love immediately into Shema Yisrael. And this is the one day of the year. Not only we chant Shema Yisrael out loud by covering our eyes, but also Baruch Shem Kavod as well, declaring God's sovereignty over the world. So page 208 at the top, God's love directly into Shema Yisrael. אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך תאמץ במשפטים אשמח את ידיך ויתך
ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו
אוהב עמו
וכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ושוכבך וקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפו בין עיניך אותתם עמזות ביתך ובישעריך. Continue quietly, page 209. ויים שמוע תשבות השלוחים לעבד עליהם ולבשבר צלחם ביתו איזה وش أنا مو هذا بيسان زيد بني وين زين Continue on page 210, about 10 lines down from the top at the arrow. Umalchuto.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל
להנו שירה בשמחה רבה רולם מיכה כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות סבל.
מלכותך רבניך, פוגע ים לפני משה, זה אלינו ואמרו,
אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
נאמר, כיפת אדוני את יעקב, פוגע לו ביד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך הוא, ברוך שמו.
גאל ישראל.
Amen. Page 211, Hashkivenu, prayer for peace and shalom. Hashkivenu Adonai shalom. Hamidenu v'sechat shlemecha tachlim zanu shemecha. Yibadenu v'zebadenu. Kishmanu v'tzilenu v'tavanu.
ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך הוא, ברוך שמו, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל.
ועל ירושלים.
Amen. Page 212 at the top where it says Ki vayom hazeh yichaper lechem. For on this day atonement shall be made for you to purify you from all your transgressions. In the presence of Adonai you shall be pure.
כי ביום
hazeh yichaper lechem
לטהרכם מכל חטאותיכם לפני אדוני תתעוררו.
Rise together, Chatzi Kaddish.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמן הבא,
אמן.
בעלמא תברח חירותי, וימליך מלכותי בחייך וביומכון, ובחיי כל בית ישראל.
בגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יש שמירה במבורך, לעולם ועמי המיה יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קודשה בריחו לילה לילה, מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבעתה ונחמתה, תמירן מעלמא ויאמרו אמן.
Amen. So, Chevre, the first amida of Yom Kippur, pages 213 through 222 are the traditional prayers of the amida, the standing prayer. It's customary to place your feet together and face the ark towards Jerusalem, towards Shalem. And in this amida are so many beautiful, beautiful prayers, really forcing us to face our truth, to do our best to stay awake. So be inspired by them, but be sure to add in your own prayers too, your own tshuva, your own repentance. You can just take your time and let go of the pages and look inside. What's the work you need to do? It's also the beginning of the first Ashamnu, the first opportunity to really beat our chests or to hug ourselves in compassion, either one, but to really go through the list of all the sins, to really give us a chance. Each one, you may say, well, this one may not specifically apply to me. Well, take some time. You may discover inside of you, each of us, a piece, maybe a piece. And on some levels, they say, Some are guilty and all are responsible. So in a society where some of these exist, all of us take responsibility for some piece of all the sins listed. So 213 to 222 is silent amida, but take your time for personal prayer and your personal al-chet and asham. Silent amida. rise together on page 223. We invite all our Ya'aleh leaders of this beautiful piyut to come forward to the beam at this time with Rabbi Jenny and line up with the microphone. This prayer, Ya'aleh, is so beautiful, and it's an opportunity to say Ya'aleh, to like kind of la'alot, aliyah, to take our prayers from Amida and Yom Kippur and lift them up as the ark is opened as well. We want to lift them all up, lift our prayers for repentance and for tshuva, for deeper prayer, for awareness, to be as awake as possible, for Ya'aleh. The ark is opened, Henry?
Ya'aleh tachanunenu me'erev ve'yavo shavatenu miboker ve'yavo shavatenu miboker ve'yera'eh
rinonenu, ve'yera'eh rinonenu, ve'yera'eh rinonenu, Amen.
Ya'aleh koleinu me'erev ve'yavo tzedakatenu miboker ve'yavo tzedakatenu miboker
Ve'yera'eh piryonenu, ve'yera'eh piryonenu, ve'yera'eh piryonenu, Amen.
Ya'aleh inuyenu me'erev ve'yavo slichatenu miboker ve'yavo slichatenu
miboker ve'yera'eh nagatenu, ve'yera'eh nagatenu, ve'yera'eh nagatenu, Amen.
Ya'aleh minusenu me'erev ve'yavo lema'anu miboker ve'yavo lema'anu miboker
Ve'yera'eh kibborenu, ve'yera'eh kibborenu, ve'yera'eh kibborenu, Amen.
Ya'aleh yishenu ויבוא תורנו מבוקר, ויבוא תורנו מבוקר.
וירא חינוננו, וירא חינוננו, וירא חינוננו, עד
יעלה זיכרוננו לערב, ויבוא ביעודנו מבוקר, ויבוא ביעודנו מבוקר.
וירא הדרתנו, וירא הדרתנו, וירא הדרתנו, עד
יעלה דווקנו מערב, ויבוא גדלנו מבוקר, ויבוא גדלנו מבוקר.
וירא בקשתנו, וירא בקשתנו, וירא בקשתנו, עד
יעלה כותנו מערב, ויבוא אליך מבוקר, ויבוא אליך מבוקר.
Beautiful. We remain standing. We turn to page 227 as the ark is opened once again for another beautiful piyut, Ki hine kachomer, also known here Beth Meyer, labrit habit. Please, God, turn yourselves towards the covenant of Israel.
כי הנה כחומר ביד היוצר, ברצותו מרחיב וברצותו מקצר, כן אנחנו בידך חסד נוצר.
Labrit habit, labrit habit, labrit habit, labrit habit,
מיעטר ויצר, כי הנה כוון מיד המסתת, ברצותו אוחז וברצותו מחטט, כן אנחנו בידך מחיה וממוטט.
La brita be, la brita brita be, la brita be, la brita be, la brita brita be, ve'al teven hayetzer.
כי הנה כגרזן ביד החרש, ברצותו דיבק לאור וברצותו ברש. כן אנחנו בידך, תומך אני ברש.
La brita be, la brita brita be, la brita be, la brita be, la brita brita be. We now are going to invite our next honoree to come forward to open up the ark for one last prayer, beautifully called Shema Kolenu on page 233. As the ark is open, we ask for God to hear our prayers, all of them, of the entire community and all of the Jewish people throughout the world, throughout the generations. Shema Kolenu, hear our prayer, hear our voices. Adonai Elohim.
שמע קולנו, אדוני אלוהינו, חוס ורחם עלינו, וקבל ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשועה. חדש חדש ימינו כקדם.
Hear our voice, Adonai our God. Be kind and have compassion for us. Willingly and lovingly accept our prayer. Turn us toward you, Adonai, and we will return to you. Make our days seem fresh as they once were. As the ark is closed, you may be seated, everyone. Beautiful job, guys. Thank you. We now turn to page 234. Ki anu amecha. Together, let's read in English on page 234 on the left page. Our God and God of our ancestors, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement together. For we are your people, and you are our God. We are your children, and you are our parents. We are your servants, and you are our master. We are your congregation, and you are our portion. We are your heritage, and you are our destiny. We are your flock, and you are our shepherd. We are your vineyard, and you are our guardian. We are your creatures, and you are our creator. We are your spouse, and you are our beloved. We are your cherished ones, and you are near to us. We are your people, and you are our sovereign. We are the ones who address, and you are the one to whom we speak.
כי
Anu amecha ve'ata Eloheinu. Anu anecha ve'ata Avinu. Anu avadecha ve'ata Nenu. Anu ye'alecha ve'ata Chelkeinu. Anu nachlatecha ve'ata goraleinu. Anu tzonecha ve'ata ro'einu. Anu amecha ve'ata notreinu. Anu ve'ulatecha ve'ata yotzreinu. Anu rayatecha ve'ata dodeinu. Anu segulatecha keroveinu. Anu amecha ve'ata mageinu. Anu mamirecha ve'ata mamireinu. We now rise on the top of page 235 for our public rendition of the Ashamnu together, top of 235. Beating our chests. Ashamnu, baganu, gazalnu, dibarnu, dovi, hevinu, ve'irshanu, zadnu, chamasnu, tafalnu, sheker, yatznu ra, kizavnu, latznu, maradnu, niyatznu, sararnu, avinu, pashanu, tsararnu, kishinu, oreb, rashanu, shichadnu, tiavnu, tainu, tidanu. We now continue with our list of al-chet on page 237 on the left side of the page. What we're going to do here is we're going to say the first line and do this responsively. So I'll begin with the bold and Rabbi Jenny with the italics, and you as a congregation should feel free to join with Rabbi Jenny for the italics. And we're just going to do the last few words in English. So it begins with, in Hebrew, al-chet shechatanu lefanecha. So I will say al-chet shechatanu lefanecha and beat my chest, and I'll say the top one. And then Rabbi Jenny says the same thing in just the last two words of the English as well. For some of you who are new to Beth Meyer, haven't been back in a couple years due to COVID, might take a second to get used to it. But over time, 5 times later, you'll get it right by Yom Kippur. All right, page 237. On the left side of the page, I begin. Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, unwillingly and willingly.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through hardening our hearts.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, thoughtlessly.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, in idle chatter.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through sexual immorality.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, openly and in private.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, knowingly and deceitfully.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by the way we talk.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by defrauding others.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, in our innermost thoughts.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through forbidden trysts.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through empty confession.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by scorning parents and teachers.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, purposely and by mistake.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by resorting to violence.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by public desecration of your name.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through foul speech.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through foolish talk.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through pursuing the impulse to evil.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, wittingly and unwittingly.
Together, for all these sins, forgiving God, forgive us,
pardon us, grant us atonement.
through denial and deceit.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by taking bribes.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by clever cynicism.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by speaking ill of others.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by the way we do business.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, in our eating and drinking.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by greed and oppressive interest.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through arrogance.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, in everyday conversation.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through conspiratorial glances.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through condescension.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through stubbornness.
Together, for all these sins, forgiving God, forgive us,
pardon us, grant us atonement.
Slag lanu, me'alanu, kabelanu. Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by throwing off all restraint.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by rashly judging others.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, by plotting against others.
V'al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through selfishness.
Al-chet shechatanu lefanecha, through superficiality.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך through stubbornness.
Al chet shekatanu v'necha, by rushing to do evil.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך through gossip.
Al chet shekatanu v'necha, through empty promises.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך through baseless hatred.
Al chet shekatanu v'necha, by betraying trust.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך by succumbing to confusion.
Together, for all these sins, forgiving God, forgive us,
pardon us, grant us atonement.
Remain standing on page 243 and 244 as the ark is opened for Avinu Malkeinu. Responsively on 243 on the left page. Avinu Malkeinu, we have sinned in your presence.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have no sovereign but you.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us kindly in accord with your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, make this a good new year for us.
Avinu Malkeinu, annul every harsh decree against us.
Avinu Malkeinu, nullify the designs of our foes.
Avinu Malkeinu, frustrate the plots of our enemies.
Avinu Malkeinu, rid us of every oppressor and adversary.
Avinu Malkeinu, rid your covenanted people of disease, war, hunger, captivity, and destruction.
Avinu Malkeinu, forgive and pardon all our sins.
Avinu Malkeinu, do not look toward our sins and transgressions, blot them out.
Avinu Malkeinu, return us to your presence fully repentant.
Avinu Malkeinu, send complete healing to the sick among your people.
Avinu Malkeinu, remember us favorably.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us for a good in the book of life.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of sustenance.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of merit.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of forgiveness. Avinu Malkeinu, cause our salvation to flourish soon.
Avinu Malkeinu, cause your people Israel to be exalted.
Avinu Malkeinu, raise up your anointed with strength.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice, be kind, sympathize with us.
Avinu Malkeinu, accept our prayer willingly and lovingly.
Avinu Malkeinu, do not turn away from us empty-handed.
Avinu Malkeinu, remember that we are but dust.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion for us, our infants and our children.
Avinu Malkeinu, do this for the sake of those who were martyred for your holy name.
Avinu Malkeinu, do this for the sake of those who were slaughtered for their exclusive devotion to you.
Avinu Malkeinu, do this for the sake of those who went through fire and water to sanctify your holy name.
Avinu Malkeinu, do this for your sake, if not for ours.
Avinu Malkeinu, have mercy on us, answer us, for our deeds are insufficient. Deal with us charitably and lovingly, and redeem us.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Honeinu Vaneinu, Ki Heimanu Maasim, Azeh Imanu, tzedakah v'hesed, Azeh Imanu, tzedakah v'hesed, ve'oshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Honeinu Vaneinu, Ki Ein Banu Maasim, Azeh Imanu, tzedakah v'hesed, Azeh Imanu, tzedakah v'hesed, ve'oshienu.
Ark is closed, you may be seated. Kaddish Shalem, page 245.
Yitgada v'yigada shemei Rabba,
be'alma dira iratei, le'al hodei, ישראל בעגלה ובזמן גדיש ויאמרו עמי שמר אהבה לעולם עלמיה יתברא וישתבח ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל בריחו לעילה לעילה וגוברתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה מרבי עלמא אמן תתקבל צלותון ואותון דרכו ישראל קדם אבוהות יאמרו אמן שלום רבה משמיה ויעקב ישראל היה אמן עושה שלום הוא יעשה
שלום עלינו ועל כל
ישראל יאמרו אמן. Rise 246. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו גילויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שכבודו תשמעו. כן נקווה לך אדוני לתקן.
ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך
לעולם ועד.
ונאמר
אדוני למלך
על כל
הרי ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Hey, be seated. We turn to page 247. We invite those in mourning, observing a yard site on this Yom Kippurim, Yom Kippur. We invite to rise on page 247. Kaddish Yatom, mourners, Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbi. Be'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. בעגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עומי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום עם רומא הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. You may be seated, everyone. Page 248, we continue with the lines from the Psalm 27. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 8 lines down from the top, Achad Sha'alti.
Achad Sha'alti met Adonai otavakesh. Achad Sha'alti met Adonai otavakesh. Shivti ve'Adonai kol ve'ayay lagazot benoam Adonai
ולבקר לחזות בנועם, נועם אדוני, ולבקר Tov, good yontif, everyone. Gamar, chatimah, tovah. Good sealing, please God, in the book of life for all of us. A few announcements here. So, in a moment, we'll conclude services. In the past, our custom in Minhag and Beth Meyer is for us to excitingly greet you all, us and the president, in the back as you leave. But due to COVID concerns, we're going to give you faraway fist bumps from here, okay? We're going to send love to you. So as our service concludes, just make your way carefully back to your cars and those back home. We will see you now, and without a kind of receiving line, but we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in the new tent in the parking lot. At 9 a.m., we'll have a family service led primarily by Rabbi Jenny and me and Karen Daniel and others, and Kathy as well. Followed by 10 o'clock, we'll begin our formal davening here in the sanctuary for our service tomorrow. Remember, of course, we have Yisker, as well as we are blessed to have Anya Gordon, who will be sharing very powerful, her personal life story of both of her parents. May they rest in peace. Survivors, her father sadly died this past year. Allah Shalem. So she will be speaking after Yisker. So there's a custom for many of us here, some of us, to leave during Yisker if your parents are living. Be sure you come back to experience this. And of course, also, all of this will be on live stream as well, so you can follow on live stream if for some reason you're unable to return. In the afternoon, we'll have study sessions during the break at approximately 2 p.m. We're trying to do this on Jewish time a little bit here, so hang with us here, but approximately 2 o'clock till about 4 o'clock. And then at 4 o'clock will be a Zoom experience, which Rabbi Jenny has arranged and prepared ahead of time, a Zoom experience, a wisdom circle called Healing and Healers. And you can watch it. If you are here on the campus, you actually can watch it in the Beit Am with others, or obviously on your device. You're allowed for this one experience on Yom Kippur, or you can watch it from home too. 5:45 is the afternoon service of Mincha, 6:45 Ne'ilah. Don't forget to come back. It's been a while with COVID, but it has grown to be what is our most populated service of the year is Ne'ilah, when the children come down in white. Hopefully, please God, we'll have more and more families here and more kids. It's really moving, like Havdalah at the end at approximately 7:34, not 1 minute sooner, okay? Unless you have a health condition, then it's a mitzvah to eat and drink. But if you don't, 7:34, you can enjoy your lax and bagel. Okay. Children gather 6:45 in the library, no later than 7:15. Look in the booklet and other information you'll see on the website, etc. after Yom Kippur about Sukkot is coming, the Lulav and Etrog, as well as Simchat Torah. We're going to celebrate and honor some of our great leaders. All right, a couple other quick announcements. Our Chevra Kadisha, it's appropriate on the holiest day of the year, when we really think of our own mortality very deeply, as Rabbi Jenny noted beautifully in her drasha, in her sermon, to volunteer to be part of the Chevra Kadisha. We need people of all genders to serve this role. We only need to do it a few times of the year, but it's a tremendous opportunity to do the highest mitzvah of taking care of those who are in need, sadly, in this moment of when they're no longer with us, when they're leaving this world and preparing for the next. If you are interested in volunteering or would have questions about volunteering, I invite you to contact Saul Schiffman, who is the Av of the Chevra Kadisha. And if you don't know, Saul, of course, is very well known, but if you don't have his contact information, then contact the office, and they'll be happy to forward on to Saul. Next, Israel trip, believe it or not. Please God, we are going to return next year, as Steve Hamill said beautifully recently, next year, and you can say next year in Jerusalem, here, June 20th through 30th, 2023. If you would like to join us, me, Rabbi Jenny, probably God willing, me from that town as well, are all going to go to Israel, and we already have a lot of people with interest. If you're interested, send your email to the office to Sarah, our assistant, and let her know. And last but not least, we want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. We had just had, I believe, our third year of the newly created, what was formerly known as Kol Nidre Appeal, is now called the Open the Gates program, which was turned online due to COVID, and I think in perpetuity will do so. We are so, so deeply grateful for everyone's participation, people who gave of the heart in every single way, clearly opened the gates. We raised more money in tzedakah, financial support for children, for security, for all aspects of our synagogue in a complicated financial time. We very, very much appreciate it. We've raised more funds this year than we ever have in our history. We are so grateful to you. However, if you haven't given yet, you can wait till after Yom Kippur, and you can contribute as well, because we really want to see this as a community building opportunity for every person to be a part of the building of the Tabernacle of Beth Meyer. So after Yom Kippur is concluded, you can also contact the office or go online and make a contribution, really a gift from the heart, and we deeply, deeply appreciate it. So again, we are now going to conclude with Adon Olam. Am I correct, Rabbi Jay? On page
249.
249, and afterwards a prayer, and we wish you a good Yantif until tomorrow. Adon Olam.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach,
Asher Malach Terem Yitzir Nivra Nasa V'Hezogo Azay Melech Shemo Nigra V'Yacharei Giglo Zagol Levado Im Lo Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Haveh Ve'hu Yeh V'tivarav Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Lo Yitzir Nivra Ve'hu Echad V'yein Sheni Ve'am Shelo Le'avira Beli Reshit Beli Tachlit Ve'lo Ha'oz Ve'hamizrach Ve'hu Eli Echai Vali Ve'sohev Li V'yetzara Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Bo Yetzir Nivra Ve'hu Nisi Umanos Li Menat Kosi Ve'yom Ekra Be'ado Avgid Ruchi Be'eti Sham Ve'ayira Ve'im Ruchi Ve'viati Adonai Li Ve'lo Ira. Please rise. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Lo Yitzir Nivra. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Ha'ava. O God, the God of our foremothers and forefathers, the God of love, we ask you in this Yom Kippurim to bring your love on this holy congregation. Bring your love on all the people in our community and throughout the Jewish world, throughout the entire world. All those who are suffering on this Yom Kippur, all those who are in mourning, all those who are struggling with illnesses, both seen and unseen. Send your love to all those who are protecting us, who are helping us to live free lives as Americans, as Jews. Send your love to all those who are protecting the state of Israel and our people who dwell there. Send your love to all people in all places where war and famine and strife take place, children who are nervous and scared. Send your love to every corner and every place. Let all people know that with you, love, harmony, peace is possible. May you help us all be inscribed in the book of life, in the book of love. Adonai oz lemo itein, Adonai varechet amav shalom. May God bless us all with peace. Gamar chatimah tovah. Our service is concluded.
Gamar tov.
Ya 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 ya
Come up with that?